Hello, everybody. All right. So, with all that being said, as of course we wait for more people to show up, I'm gonna go ahead, go off camera for a moment, take care of some other things real quick. When I come back, we'll go over what's on tap for tonight, and then get going. Without any further ado. Alrighty then. So, with all that being said here, we are on the second day of August here. So we're well over halfway through 2023 here. Uh, just a little over 7 months down, and under 5 months to go. With that, of course today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do it today as opposed to waiting till tomorrow. We're gonna do the independent comic showcase from Bleeding Fool. We'll also have our wrestling wrap up and this day in each history. So let's see, 4:13 here, 4 minutes in. Anyways, and as always, guys, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream and see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I will do my best to answer those questions to the best of my ability. So, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and let's get ready to get started here. So, as I said, we're going to focus in today on the indie comic showcase from Chris Braley's Bleeding Fool. Okay. right, so there we go. As always, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in on the conversation. And also, if anything here grabs your attention, um, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that, let's go ahead and get started here. Indie Comic Showcase number 233, Strange Ranger, Tantalizing Adventures, and Glenn in Monsterland. Sounds like some interesting titles going there. Particularly, wonder what that Tantalizing Adventures is about. Well, I guess we're going to find out soon enough here as we go through the article. Article by Chris Braley, published earlier today. All right, so welcome back to another installment of Indie Comic Showcase, the weekly blog where we signal boost a few truly independent comics that are currently crowdfunding their projects, crowdsourcing their funding in some way, or just completely self-publishing on their own. Every little bit of support for these creators matters, from a single dollar pledge to the $25 bundle. And of course, the higher tiers are usually fun too. Great salesmanship there, Chris, right? Even if you can't back a campaign or buy a book, you can share or tweet about these projects to your friends and followers. And you can also catch my coverage, my going over the articles every week, either Wednesday or Thursday, on the Mikestand here as well. So there's another way to look at it. On Indie Comics Showcase, we interview the creators, show off some art, and tell you how you can check out the product for yourself. Below, we have some outstanding crowdfunding campaigns this week for you to learn about, enjoy, and hopefully support by backing one or more of them. Thanks for checking these out and for being the best part of Indie Comics Showcase. Let's jump in. Well, first off, Strange Ranger by Mark Bell. Do, 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 do. Chris Braley. Welcome to Indie Comics Showcase, Mark. What is Strange Ranger all about? Mark Bell. Strange Ranger, Lost and Found, is a 32-page, full-color, supernatural adventure graphic novella about Agatha, a rookie park ranger responsible for a mysterious forest full of unexplainable creatures, who has to overcome self-doubt and forces beyond her control to find a lost child, enter the magical world of Dusk River Park. Wow, sounds like a very interesting place to visit. From the mind of Mark Bell here. Agatha Wayne, Park Ranger. Wow, Wayne, she even has a pretty famous super alien identity, doesn't she? Of course, we know she's probably not part of that Wayne family, but you never know. Maybe she is a distant cousin to Batman, for all we know. Anyways, let's move on from there. Chris, where did the idea for this book originate? Mark, originally it was an idea for a video game, but the project became too large. I still liked the idea of a park ranger in a magical forest, so shifted it to my comic company. Wow, so he actually initially was going to do this as a video game, but then decided to go the comic route. That's very interesting. Interesting color schemes here. Chris, what sort of readers is this book aimed at? Mark, this comic is all ages and meant specifically to engage female readers and creators instead of standard superhero fare. Strange Ranger offers a different kind of adventure and story. It sounds like a little bit maybe in the same vein as like Wonder Woman, Black Canary, Elektra, um, Spider Woman, Scarlet Witch. Let me see. What's some others I can think of? Other superhero fare, as it were. That's all I can think. DC and Marvel primarily, I guess. Sheena, Queen of the well, not as much of that, but hey, Chris, can you share a little about the creative process that goes into this? Mark, sure. I begin by figuring out the beats per page and then did very basic thumbnails. After that, I created a full script and worked with the artist Janssen Carbonell on character creation, pages, and the cover. I've published comics under Plague Doctor Press since 2019, and Janssen Carbonell is my amazing artist from Dominican Republic. All Lake Trails. Let's see. Chris, what's the current state of the comic? How far along in production is the book? Mark, the book has characters, a cover, and a few pages. The Kickstarter will pay for the remaining pages, the rewards, the printing, and postage. This will be my third Kickstarter, and I have had two successful campaigns based on this model. Let's see, Chris, what are you, what are you, okay? All right, Chris, I guess Chris kind of did a little, either this is a typo, grammatical error, but what he said, what are you been learning from self-publishing? I think what he meant to say was either what have you been learning from self-publishing or what are you learning from self-publishing. Sounds like you got kind of caught mid thought there. Ah, we still got two people. Still pretty good. Feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything catches your attention, folks. Um. Anyways, let's see. Mark, the number one lesson is independent comic publishing is about love and not a path to profit. I have learned how to create and grow a fan base, market my work, bring my stories to people all over the world. Making comics has been my dream, and I am so glad I get to do it. Bringing new readers to comics makes the world of comics grow. And then Chris here, what are your plans beyond this book? Are there more stories you want to tell? Mark, when this story is done, the Kickstarter for my other title, Spirit, with Dark Horse artist Melissa Capriglione, um, with, with have a campaign for the third I guess will have a campaign for the third issue. And then Strange Ranger 2 will come after that. All right, taking a little bit of Smokey the Bear's approach, I guess. Only you can be a strange ranger. Ah, Chris, sounds good. Anything else you'd like to mention about the campaign before we wrap this up? Mark, this is a book about a park ranger. There will be patches. In addition, there is park poster and map, all done in the style of Nation Parks materials. All right. Well, that sounds interesting. I remember that. No, the other night, I think actually I was seeing that on one of Metal's videos too. One of his walkabout videos where he was talking about how as part of a game he might put in like a map for people to see how the world looks for the game. So, anyways, all right. So there we go with that one. Now I'm getting ready to move on to the next book that Chris will be talking about here. Tantalizing Adventures. All right, so Tantalizing Adventures by Paul Monsky. Oh, that's definitely going to be an attention getter, I take it. Let's see. Chris Braley. Welcome to Indie Comic Showcase, Paul. Hit me with your elevator pitch for Tantalizing Adventures. Paul Monsky. An action and peril packed jungle adventure featuring the lovely Alina Aguilar in 5 tales of survival fighting man and beast. 80 pages of full color stories plus pinups and commentary for a total page count of 90 plus, with story art by Ed Couts and many others. Wow, this sounds like something that's going to grab a lot of people's attention, doesn't it? That first picture I saw certainly did. And I guess hence the name Tantalizing Adventures. Maybe this guy's trying to do his own version of Sheena here, huh? Chris, tell me what inspired you to create this comic. Paul, I've been a fan of AC Comics down in Florida almost 40 years. So almost 40 years. So that would be what? Right now, we're in 20. So pretty much since the 80s, I guess. 40 years ago would have been 83, but almost 40 years. So for all we know, it could be the late 80s. He started up, or mid to late 80s. And in addition to my favorite title from them Force, they've turned me onto classic comic books from the golden age of comics. Jungle Girls were prevalent then, to a degree. I mean, of course, as if any of you have been keeping track with us on historical comic retrospect, we've seen Sheena quite a bit, right? Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. So, And continuing on in the modern era, titles published by AC, and they inspired me to create my own Jungle Girl character, Alina, almost 2 decades ago. Writing comic book stories became a fun hobby as I did some work for AC in FemForce and other titles while working my day job. Now I'm retired from my professional career and have more time to devote to my own entertainment, and I have lots of comic book stories to tell in many genres. Luckily, I've become friendly with some fantastic artists over the years, and the ability to collaborate and see my scripts come to life is a joy. Self publishing allows me to retain control over my ideas and provide the freedom to do what I want to do without the constraint of working on someone else's intellectual property or answering to others who don't share the same vision that I do. A la DC, a lot of the corporate mainstream comic book companies like DC, Marvel, maybe to lesser degrees, Image and Dark Horse. Albeit Dark Horse seems pretty. Um, and Dark Horse, Oh well, here's another nice little site here. People are going to well, obviously be mesmerized by. Who is this comic aimed at? Paul, if you love Golden Age comics, Bronze Age comics, modern good girl art pulp stories, action and adventure, then Tantalizing Adventures will be a comic book after your own heart. Subject matter is PG-13. There's nothing that couldn't have been shown in prime time in the 1980s. It's aimed at the kind of reader who enjoys Tarzan or Sheena, Doc Savage, or Tales of the Gold Monkey. And of course, I've already mentioned Sheena twice, even before he did. So, look at the expression on her face there. That's very catchy. Chris, tell me a little about your writing style for this project. Paul, I tend to write shorter slices of time stories that are interconnected with a focus on the moments of excitement that are otherwise surrounded by routine and normalcy. I try to show who characters are by their actions and choices instead of by monologue or walls of text, and I try to keep things interesting. I usually write full script so that my vision is evident to the artist, and so the artist knows which panels will need extra space for multiple word balloons. Or, but I also like when artists propose changes and still hew to the overall vision, but in a more intriguing way. See if anybody's got anything to say yet. Oh, hmm. All right. So my first collaboration was with artist Ed Couch on the lead story in FemForce issue number 119. And because we had never worked together, I wrote a full script with how I saw the story in my mind. He largely followed it, but pointed out several problems that made certain elements of the script nearly impossible to convey as written. He suggested alternatives, and they made sense. I've been doing it that way ever since. Wow, some more eye-catching art here. Well, Tantalizing Adventures is very aptly named. Definitely, you're gonna be. Just from what I'm seeing here, anybody who picks up this book will probably be mesmerized by it. I'm pretty sure of that. Um, Chris, talk about your creative team that contributed to this project. Paul, Ed is my primary partner in this project. He's an illustrator and painter based in New York City, who I met at a convention over 20 years ago. Since then, we've worked together on several stories for FemForce, quote unquote, as well as three self published comic book titles. Um, Va 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 Boom, quote unquote, a little over a decade ago. Um, Again, some more intriguing stuff. Ed introduced me to the legendary Rudy Nebris, best known for his inking work on Savage Sword Conan for Marvel. Ed's inks and ink wash over Rudy's pencils formed the illustrations for the first story in Tantalizing Adventures. The objective. Bobby Ragland, objective, quote unquote. Bobby Ragland who is the penciler on many of the more recent stories in quote unquote Femforce, and another title from AC Comics, quote unquote Super Babes, handles those duties on our second tale, quote unquote Movie Magic, with Ed providing inks. Rob Jones was a longtime assistant to comic book legend Dick Giordano before Mr. Giordano's passing, and he handled the art for quote unquote Predator and Prey. Matt Finn and Victor Ranieri colored the stories, and Rick Joseph did yeoman work with all the lettering. A few other creative contributors I have to mention because I'm so thrilled are Bill Black, in parentheses, or the retired head honcho AC Comics, who is busy in his 70s making movies with his characters, in parentheses, did a variant cover for the book. Brad Gorby, who I consider one of the top good girl artists of the 1990s and whose run on Femforce is most longtime fans' favorite, did a painted pinup of Alina that appears in the book. And Mike Lilly, who has done work for DC Comics, Marvel, and Zenescope, among others, also contributed a pinup. I hope they don't get busted, but that kind of looks like Sheena right there. Ah, they don't get busted for that. Chris, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from self-publishing? Paul, beyond the story creation, which I've done before, there's a lot of marketing and pre-production work that needs to happen so that you're ready to go when you head into pre-sales. ah, Chris, what are your plans beyond this book? Paul, Alina will eventually get new stories, but I've already got a book featuring my superheroine character, the Ace, in the works. I've also got a sci-fi heroine who will feature in a book called quote unquote Prism, and a time-displaced red-headed detective will make her way onto the schedule as well. I also have a 70s cop with a story written. All my protagonists are lovely women in action adventure scenarios. Wow, this will grab a lot of people's attention, won't it? Chris, anything else you would like to share with our readers before we sign off? Paul, tantalizing adventures will entertain you, to say the least. Now, before I do continue on here, I do need to step away from the computer, so I'll be right back. Just put on some music while I'm gone to entertain you guys. I'll be right back, and then we'll continue on with. All right, so I'm back. And as always, guys, of course, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything grabs your attention here, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. So with that, let's continue on here. Glenn in Monsterland by Kevin Philpott. Actually, I think I've seen this logo on a little promo piece on some of RJ's videos, among many of the books that he's helped to promote. RJ Carter, Critical Blast. All right, so Chris, welcome to Indie Comic Showcase, Kevin. What's the elevator pitch for Glenn in Monsterland? Kevin, after displeasing a tyrant king, an apprentice witch named Glenn is banished to a dungeon and left to rot. There, she has to band together a gang of misfit monsters if she is to have any hope of escape. Fully colored, 48 pages of madcap fun by the supremely talented Luisa Russo. Chris, where did the idea for this comic come from and made you decide to self-publish it? Kevin, I always wanted to write something funny for my daughters, and I got the idea, quote, what if Robin Hood was a werewolf and Maid Marian was a witch, unquote. It rapidly rolled into its own thing, but that was the initial concept. And the great thing about self-publishing is that you can tell the story you want with the characters you love. Mm-hmm. Instead of being subject to, oh boy, that would probably get some that little girl with that bottle of beer there. Guess that would probably get some people's ires up. What kind of comic readers is this book aimed at? Chris asked. Kevin, Monsterland is predominantly for children, but not childish. Reading age is 10 and over, but the comic is completely safe to read to younger children by parents whom will enjoy it also. I think he meant to say who will enjoy it also. Tell us about your style and creative process, Chris asks. Kevin responds, I wrote the story and handle fulfillment, but Luisa Russo is the genius behind the book. Character design, art, coloring, and lettering. She done the lot. All right, that again doesn't sound right to me, but hey, what have you. I was so fortunate to work with her on a small horror anthology a few years back, and we very quickly made a great team. Luisa is one of the most prolific artists in Europe. She has had 3 or 4 books out of a year, from all the major French publishers for some time now. She is very good at drawing, acting. Um, the characters' expressions really jump off the page. I've been lucky to be printed in a few anthologies here and there, but Glenn is my first big project. Chris, what's your production workflow like? And if it's not complete, how far along is the book? Kevin, the book is already printed thanks to tremendous backers on a previous campaign. Excuse me a moment. Forgot once again. Oh boy, I forgot once again to turn the do not disturb sign on my phone. I'll be right back. But I'll put some music on while I do that. Alrighty then. So now back to the article here. Before I do that, let me just do something. All right. So, anyways, okay. My intention with this new campaign on Fund My Comic is to be able to donate copies to a charity called Comic Books for Kids. The last box I sent, the copies were dispersed to children's wards and cancer centers all across America. That's cool. That is so awesome. I have plenty more copies to donate, but as I am over here in Ireland, I do need a little help with the postage. Another European creator, okay. The luck of the Irish, as it were. Chris, what's been the biggest lesson you've learned from the process of self-publishing? Kevin, when you self-publish through a crowdfund campaign, you become a one-man army and soon find out what your strengths and weaknesses are. And again, that's something I've heard a lot from a lot of these guys in the interviews. That's a pretty common thing right there, if you really think about it. I certainly need to improve my marketing skills, no doubt. I do love the creative process, but I think I like fulfilling a campaign more. I love wrapping up a book knowing that this copy is going to Texas and this one is going to Japan. It really is an honor. Oh, look at that glow around that creature's head right there. Chris, are there plans for more stories beyond this book? Kevin, um, there is a whole series of books already written and ready to go. I have the gang up against vampire rabbits, history eating slugs, oh, bookworms, huh? Stone giants, evil twins, and octopus assassins. Glenn's magical world is limitless. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow, wow. Chris, anything else you would like to share with our readers before we sign off? Kevin, I hope new readers will check out the tremendous art of Monsterland. The book would make a fantastic Halloween gift or Christmas stocking filler. Thank you for taking the time to feature us, and thanks again to all our readers and backers for their support. That's it for this installment. If you're a creator ramping up your own campaign or have a comic available for purchase online and you want to be featured in our weekly column, click here and follow Indie Comic Showcase on Twitter at Indie Comics and reach out to them for more eyes on your crowdfunding comic project. Till next time, support Indie Comics. All right, so there we go with that. All right, so now we're at the 43-minute mark. So as I knew, we did take care of it quite a bit. Of course, if you haven't already, if you can help me out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. Also, anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. With all that being said, of course, now we're at the 43-minute mark, so it's probably a good time to get into the wrestling wrap-up. As we do have news, of course, from WWE, AEW, and NWA. As all three, of course, do have stuff coming up in the near future here, or towards the end of the month. So first off, in WWE news, so it was reported earlier that the Security and Exchange Commission, the Federal Securities and Exchange Commission, had issued a search warrant and a grand jury subpoena to Vince McMahon over his hush money scandal from about a year ago. Of course, you guys remember he had been accused of doling out hush money to women he had been supposedly been involved with over the years, and had also had some women accuse him of sexual assault. But right now they're looking more at the hush money side of things. Apparently now, of course, Vince McMahon is going to be out of action as well, just because he recently had some serious spinal surgery. So we're probably not going to be hearing too much from him in the near future for a while. But, Vince had stepped down last summer, about a year ago, as CEO, and then retook the position more or less by the end of the year. Let's see. So that's all the WWE, and of course, this Friday SmackDown, they're still building towards this weekend's SummerSlam. We'll probably go over the final card tomorrow night as we know it. Of course, SmackDown will be Friday night, but since we'll be doing our historical comic retrospect that night, we won't know much of anything until the following Monday. So, anyways, so with that, some AEW news, of course. So, after much speculation, all four members of the Elite, Kenny Omega, Adam Page, and the Young Bucks, have all re-signed with AEW long-term contracts. Looks like they're going to still be around AEW for quite a number of years. Of course, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are some of the guys who helped to found the company. They still are exec EVPs of the company, so they still carry a lot of weight there. It had been reported earlier that WWE was re-signing at least Kenny Omega, if not at least all three of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. But as it stands now, they've re-signed with AEW. And tonight is the 200th episode of Dynamite. And on that card tonight includes in the main event, Toni Storm will be defending the AEW Women's World title against Hikaru Shida. Aussie Open defends their recently won Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships against El Hijo del Vikingo and Commando with Alex Abramontes in their corner. Of course, Alex Abramontes, the manager of the Lucha Brothers as well. In a six-man tag match, the Elite members Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks will have Brandon Cutler in their corner. We'll be taking on the threesome of Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh, Sanjay Dutt, and Karen Jarrett in their corner. Alex Abramontes will lead Penta El Zero Miedo for an Anything Goes three-way match against the Blackpool Combat Club's John Moxley, and Best Friends is Trent Beretta. And the opening match of the evening will see Chris Jericho teaming with Konosuke Takeshita, with Don Callis in their corner, taking on the Jericho Appreciation Society members Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara. So this is turning into something kind of interesting, to say the least. So that's all that's going on in AEW. Now, also what happened on last night's NWA Power, as of course, NWA is laying the groundwork in a few weeks for their anniversary show, the 75th anniversary show. On last night's Power on YouTube, the opening match of the night saw Chris Adonis defeat Dak Draper and Damage in a triple threat match. In a submission match. Now, this one was not your typical submission match. It's not a technical, masterpiece as you would think of something as most fans would think a submission match should be. This was Judas defeating Gags the Gimp in a submission match. Fodder and Joe Alonzo with Angelina Love in their corner defeated Rob Anthony and Eric Jackson. Rob Anthony, of course, who was under the mask as Scion. And then Kenzie Page had a successful title defense against Angelina Love for the NWA World Women's Television title. And then Silas Mason answered the open challenge of Koa Laksamana, with Ricky Morton once again trying to harass Khalees. So, and she slapped the taste out of his mouth, as it were. So with that, not a lot of build for the anniversary show happened on last night's Power, but we'll go over the final. Tomorrow night, we'll cover what happened on tonight's Dynamite on AEW. We'll also go over the card heading into this Saturday's SummerSlam. So with that, now that we got all that out of the way, now it's time to start winding things down, as we were going to go ahead and today being Wednesday, August the 2nd, 2023. Let's take a look back at this day in each history. History! All right. So first off, we're going to head back to 1973. And on this date, 50 years ago today, the 20th issue of Ghost, which I believe was kind of a supernatural anthology published by DC at the time. Stories included The Haunting Hussar of West Point, The Howl of the Black Phantom, The Skulls of Pack Island, and Spectre in the Snow. Basically, your typical ghost stories, I would imagine. The book sold for 20 cents. Page count was 32. Edited by Murray Boldenoff, with cover art by Nicholas Peter Candy. So on this date, 50 years ago today, the 20th issue of Ghost from DC, when DC Comics went on sale on this date 50 years ago. Of course, at the time, DC was known as National Periodical Publications Incorporated. So with that, getting ready to move on to the next piece of each history as we move forward to 1998, which was 25 years ago today. As on this date, 25 years ago today, ECW held its Heatwave pay-per-view from the Hara Arena in Dayton, Ohio. The main event saw Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, and Spike Dudley team up and defeat Spike's brothers, the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray, Devon, and Big Dick Dudley, who had, of course, Joel Gertner, Sign Guy Dudley, and Jeff Jones in their corner in a street fight. So that was your main event. You saw Taz retain the ECW FTW Heavyweight Championship in a Falls Count Anywhere match against Bam Bam Bigelow. This might have been the one. This might have been the. Not sure if this is the event in which Taz had a hold of Bam Bam in the Taz Mission Katahajime and basically And Bam Bam trying to reverse it just sent both of them crashing through corner of the ring. I don't know if this was that event, but the ECW, FTW, the same title that's being defended in AEW right now, currently held by Jack Perry, who recently won it from Hook, has a son. Let's see. And for the ECW World Tag Team Championships, Sabu and Rob Van Dam with Bill Alfonso in their corner defeated Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki to retain the title. In a grudge match, Masato Tanaka defeated Mike Awesome. Chris Candido defeated Lance Storm, and he had Tammy Lynn Sitch, a.k.a. Sonny, in his corner. Just Incredible defeated Jerry Lynn, his entourage. The pre-show match was the Hardcore Chair Swinging Freaks of Balls Mahoney and Actor Rotten taking on the full-blooded Italians of Little Guido and Tracy Smothers. So there you go. That was from 25 years ago. Heat Wave 98 from ECW. And now, with the final piece of Niche history, we go back just 15 years ago today. On this date, back in 2008, Naruto Shippuden, the movie Bonds from Studio Pero, well, Production IG's The Skycrawlers, both premiered in Japan on this date 15 years ago today. So on this date 15 years ago today, Japanese premieres of Naruto Shippuden, the movie Bonds, and The Skycrawlers both made their debuts in Japan on this date 15 years ago today. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Of course, we'll be back here with more Niche News tomorrow night. Don't forget, this Friday I'll have Rick Piper on with me, as we will be looking back to November 1939, in which we'll be looking at comics that went on sale in that month. Date from Fox Feature Syndicate. We'll be reading from Fantastic Comics and Wonder World comics. Reading such features as Samson, The Flame, Blue Beetle, and Zanzibar the Magician. So I hope you guys will be back here tomorrow night and Friday night as we continue our look back through comics history. And of course, we'll be back on Sunday as well. So hopefully we'll see you all again soon. And with that, I thank you all for being here. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.